How's it going today? Oh my goodness. I know. I am very tired. We just got back from a wedding, flew back late yesterday night. And today we have the Sarah Boone attorneys meeting. These were her former attorneys that represent her before. They were court appointed attorneys and they want their money. So a while back we covered Winston Hobson. He filed a motion to get his attorney's fees because he tried to get it approved by JAC, and he wanted to get the full $15,000. I think Patricia Cashman as well, Frank Bankowitz, and he was denied because they said that, hey, because you guys weren't on the Sarah Boone case from start to finish, to the very end and to the point where she would get convicted or acquitted, you don't get the full $15,000. And they're saying, well, we put in this amount of hours. We met with these experts. We met with her. We did a lot of research in the background. We went over Patricia Cashman's motion as well. And she detailed, how many hours she worked, how all the research that she did. And I really enjoyed that. I really liked reading that. And so now they're having a hearing today because they want to get paid. JC was like, no. What you're supposed to do is y'all need to divide it between the 3 or the 4 of you guys, because I think there's technically 4 court appointed attorneys. I think one of them was was it a Mark Consalo that was on her case for maybe like 2 or 3 weeks, but I don't know if they did any work or anything like that. We haven't really heard from that attorney, but we know we've heard from Winston Hobson, we've heard from Patricia Cashman, and Frank Bankowitz. Just a refresher, Frank Bankowitz was Sarah Boone's 6th attorney. He worked with her for a couple of months, tried to withdraw back in December. The judge didn't allow him. And then 9 months afterwards, after working with Sarah Boone again, put another motion of withdrawal. And at that point, the judge did granted. Then afterwards, Winston Hobson was appointed. And then it was Patricia Cashman. And things just didn't work out. And at that point, the judge was like, hey, Sarah, you're going to have to represent yourself and you're going to have to go pro se. So now we're going to have this hearing. And yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. And hello. Hi, Meow Meow. Hi, lady. How are you doing today? Hi, Christine. Happy Tuesday. What's up? I hope you guys are doing well. I woke up a couple hours ago, but this is how I rolled out of bed, okay? I haven't done anything yet, but I hope, yeah. We actually have 2 Sarah Boone hearings this week. So this one's for her attorneys, getting paid. And then I think on Thursday, we're going to have some other stuff that we're going to be covering. But before we get to the Sarah Boone motions hearing, actually, should I talk about it later? No, it's actually really quick. I want to just cover it very, very quickly. This is something that was filed by the state in the Sarah Boone case. Notice the supplemental discovery comes now to the state of Florida by and through the undersigned assistant state attorney hereby makes the following information available to the defense and states the following. 1. Abraham Moreno gave a statement to law enforcement in this case, which has been provided discovery pages 237, 247. Number 2, the undersigned assistant state attorney spoke with Mr. Moreno in advance of the trial. Oh, hello. Hello, man.
Hello, man that gifted a tier 1 sub to Regit and Narayan.
Thank you so much, Mandark. I hope you're having a wonderful day. How's it going? Hello. Hi, Boxer Brief. What a nice name. Hi, Morton. Hi, Jelly Bean. Hi, Fire Nitros. How's it going? Let me get your questions in one bit. But Mandark, thank you so much for gifting us up. Thank you. I appreciate the support and thank you. I appreciate all the all the support that you guys give and just being here, being in the chat, being in the background. I always appreciate that as well. All right, so number 1, Abraham Moreno gave a statement to law enforcement in this case, which has been provided in discovery pages. Number 2, the undersigned assistant state attorney spoke with Mr. Moreno in advance of the trial on September 23rd, 2024. Was that yesterday? Yesterday. Number 3, Mr. Moreno indicated to the assistant state attorney that the defendant was stating what happened was an accident on the day of the murder. Now, the reason why the state is going to bring this up over and over and over again, because it seems like Sarah Boone said it was an accident in the body cam interrogation, blah, blah, blah. However, the new, her defense right now is that it's not really a new defense because we've already seen her previous attorneys kind of like entertaining the battered spouse defense. And so what was clarified in the previous hearing was that if you're going to go for the battered spouse defense, it's supposed to be an explanation, like a justification for what you did, why you did to, what you did to the victim, right? In this case, it's George. And so they're trying to say that like, Sarah Boone is a victim. She's a battered spouse, she gets beat on by George. And what she did to George is justified because maybe she was scared of him. Maybe she kept him in the suitcase because of blah, 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 blah. I don't know. The suitcase thing is still really weird because, again, it's not like she stabbed him. It's not like she shot him. It was in a suitcase. And so the state, they're going to really remind us, and especially to the jury, it's like, hey, like, how can you say this to justify your accent? How are you going to say this to justify your actions when in fact you kept telling us it was an accident, it was an accident, it was an accident. So now we see why Sarah Boone's defense is trying really, really hard to trying to get out the interrogation video, the body cam footages, because, Sarah Boone was on there saying that it was an accident. So back to this document. Mr. Moreno indicated to... Is that
Sup,
Joe?
Corgi in chat. Y'all get your tacos on this lovely Tuesday.
Hi, Joe. How are you doing today? No tacos for me today. I want to be eating some healthy-ass meals, okay? Some chicken, some veggies. I'm going to keep it healthy today. But, Joe, thank you so much for the resub for 37 months. Thank you for the support. Hello, I appreciate it. Hi, Siobhan. Hi, Nicole. Morton. Hello, Fire. How's it going? Love the bun. Why, thank you. This is my go-to hair, okay? When I'm just like, I'm tired. Let's just do this. Let's roll. Let's go. Let's get it. All right, so number 3. Mr. Moreno indicated to this assistant state attorney that the defendant was stating what happened was an accident on the day of the murder. Mr. Moreno said the defendant stated that she was teaching him a lesson. Things got out of hand. And you know what? I think that story makes sense. I think it fits because, like I said, George being in a suitcase, George being found in a suitcase, George being deceased in a suitcase, it just doesn't make sense if you're trying to say that, like, oh, hey, it was like self-defense, and my actions were justified because I was scared of him, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but he was in a suitcase. It's not like it was like the heat of the moment and then you attacked him. It was like he got in the suitcase. You let him in there. You let him stay in there. And then he was trying to get out and then you were filming him. It's really weird. But the fact that, the state bringing up, hey, like Sarah Boone was trying to teach him a lesson, things got out of hand and she fell asleep. That story tracks more in my opinion, because I think Sarah Boone and George were friendly. They were playing games that night. They were playing hide and go seek, whatever. They were drinking, taking pictures, dancing with the dogs, whatever. They were probably goofing around. George got in the suitcase. Sarah zipped him up and was like, you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity to punish you for all the things that you've done to me. I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm going to punish you. I'm going to leave you in there. I'm going to humiliate you. I'm going to make fun of you. I'm going to film you. And I think she was drunk and she fell asleep and she was just like, fuck you. I don't care what happens to you. If you die, you die. If you don't die, you don't die. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking, And unfortunately, he died. So, she did what she did. And I think she knew what she was doing. Like, yeah, I think she was tipsy, drunk, but at the same time, that's not an excuse to kill someone. But anyways, that's the reason why the state's bringing this up. And that makes sense. Mr. Moreno recalls the defendant making the statement prior to law enforcement arriving on scene.
Joe Zombie gifted a tier 1 sub to Booty Tootin.
What a name. Joe, thank you so much for gifting a sub to Booty. Need that hype trip? Yes. She's an alcoholic. She fell asleep. Because for me, I don't know. I mean, what the defense can really get at is I think they could try to say, hey, you know what? It was an accident. It was an accident. I think that's the most that could make sense for the jury. But for them to say that, self-defense because of this, or for them to say that, I don't know. That to me just doesn't make sense. But like I said, defense attorneys, they get really creative. And that's why I always appreciate them, because they get so creative to the point that sometimes when they try to pitch their story, they're so good at convincing you that for a second, you might buy it. And it's until you listen to other witnesses, you're like, oh, you know what? Never mind. What was I thinking? Why was I buying to their theory? But like I said, when we listen to opening statements, maybe for a second we'll be convinced of Sarah Boone's defense. Maybe, possibly. Okay, sorry. Let's get to the attorney's hearing. I just wanted to cover this really quickly and just do a little quick chat about it. Hi, Doom. How's it going? Dang, she can't get drunk if she drinks a lot. I know they talked about 2 bottles of wine being there. Someone mentioned something about like strawberry or raspberry vodka being on the scene, but I don't know if that's true or not. But we'll see. We'll see when the trial happens. Hey, Chopper. Hello. Hi, Peace. I finally made it. Thank you so much for popping in. She's likely going to say that she was scared of what he would do after he was let out. That I can see, right? I can see that. But the thing is that when she was filming him and she was cursing at him and she was, antagonizing him and this guy was in the suitcase, I don't know if the defense is trying to say like, oh, she was scared afterwards. It's like, it's hard to tell that. It's hard to imagine her being scared because she was taunting him. So her filming it was just the nail in the coffin. Teaching him a lesson isn't self-defense. Sounds like revenge to me. Yep, exactly. All right. So that's all I wanted to cover today. There was a bunch of other things that were filed, but basically they were just things that they were just like written orders from the judge from last week's hearing. And that was the only one that I just wanted to discuss with you guys. Now, let's get to today's hearing about the attorneys. Like I said, these attorneys, they want to get their full $15,000 because, they said they worked a lot on the Sarah Boone case. And even though they never made it to trial, they still put in a lot of work, effort behind the scenes, experts and all that stuff. So let's listen. We have a different judge who's overseeing it. Judge Lisa Munyon. Hi, Judge Lisa. We like your necklace. Yeah, the 12-minute video, I still don't know where that is from, but I keep hearing about a 12-minute video. But the thing is that when Patricia Cashman, when she wrote down the hours that she spent on the Sarah Boone case, she did mention there was a video, but did she say it was 12-minute video? Because I know we've seen was it like a 3-minute video or something like that, or less than 1 minute video? It was listed in Discovery. Because I remember it being listed somewhere, and then I never saw it listed anywhere else. But we'll see when the trial happens. I mean, guys, it's going to be, in 2 weeks? She also said she thought that he could free himself. She wouldn't have been able to sleep under that belief. Yeah, a lot of contradictions. It's like, man, you've been sitting in jail for about 4.5 years. I don't know. Maybe she really thinks that she can convince us, Convince the jury. You've only seen a tiny bit of one, but it wasn't mentioned in the police interrogation. Wouldn't the police interrogation, when they'd be like, oh, hey, by the way, there's also a 12-minute one, and here's, the whole entire video. Do you want to watch together? Or do you think that they didn't see it yet, or what happened? Oh, gosh. Are those like the lover calls, Chopper? From the hypersophiliacs? Okay, I think court is coming in. I see Frank Bankowitz.
For the record, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Christian.
Oh, hell. Whose audio is that? Let me turn it down. Is that Mr. Lake from JAC? Okay, I'm going to have the captions on. I'll try to adjust the audio as we go because, whenever we have someone dial into these hearings, the audio is always a little bit blasphemous.
Lake, Assistant General Counsel of the JAC.
Thank you. And who is here on behalf or seeking attorney's fees on that case?
Me, Attorney George Gibo, for the record.
All right. And can Mr. Lake, can you hear him?
He's very faint, Your Honor.
All right. If you could just talk into the microphone, that would be helpful.
Certainly.
Feel free to stay seated if
Thank
you
you,
like.
ma'am.
Rough start with the audio, but when I edit this video, I'll try to fix the audio. But I'm sorry for the live streams. There's not much I can do. I'm sorry, y'all. It's a little bit loud.
We are here on your motion for attorney's fees, Mr. Gibo, so you may proceed.
Judge, I did a attempted murder trial back in 2022. It was really lengthy. I had the case from April of 2021 until
I think this is Winston Hobson, the first to file the motion. It doesn't sound like Frank Bankowitz.
November of 2022. In that time, I did 46 depositions, had them all transcribed. I did a 4-day trial, 4-day attempted murder trial. It's a very complex and complicated case, Judge. I'm just asking for fair compensation for my work. I had billed for $20,430. JAC.
Wait, so the depositions was for this case? Because he's talking about like a different murder trial too, so I was a little bit confused.
I did 46 until
The case from April 2021.
November of 2022. In that time, I did 46 depositions, had them all transcribed. I did a 4-day trial, 4-day attempted murder trial. It's a very complex and complicated case, Judge. I'm just asking for fair compensation for my work.
I wonder if he's asking for compensation for the Sarah Boone case and for other cases as well. because he definitely didn't represent Sarah Boone from November 2021 to November 2022. He represented Sarah Boone for about, I think, 5 months.
I had billed for $20,430. JAC objected to $8,632.5 of that, which leaves $11,797.50. Judge, I'm not going to fight them on anything that they objected to. If they're happy to pay me $11,797.50, I'm ready to take it.
Jeez.
I don't have any fight left in me, Judge.
So you're requesting $11,797.50.
No, fight for it. Fight for it. Fight for your time. Come on.
Yes, ma'am, that's the JAC adjusted amount that they say I'm owed.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lake.
Your Honor, as Mr. Jabot has indicated, with that amount, the only objection is the amount we accepted exceeds the flat fee. Beyond that, we defer to the court. The court's familiar with the standards, so we believe it's court's discretion to determine whether Mr. Jabot has met the standard to justify compensation in excess of the flat fee.
I do find that this case required unusual and extraordinary effort, and the flat fee would be confiscatory. So I will award $11,797.50.
Thank you.
Counsel, do you have an order by any
I
chance?
certainly do, Your Honor.
Oh, is that Frank? Frank sounds like that? I don't remember Frank saying line though. Okay, I think that was Frank Bankowitz. I thought it was Mr. Winston Hobson. More motions? Let's see.
Yes. Thank you. I have entered the order. I'll have my judicial assistant e-file it when I get back to the office.
Thank you, Judge. That's all I have. Maybe excuse, ma'am?
Yes, thank you. Have a good day.
And you.
And Judge, just before we conclude this matter, I was the appointed attorney on behalf of Mr. Anderson prior to Mr. Jabot when his case was null pros, approximately 3 weeks before it was then refiled, and then Mr. Jabot was appointed. Ms. Rhiannon Arnold Rogers on behalf
Is that Patricia Cashman?
of the record, previously appointed Mr. Anderson. I think at some point the JAC also objected because of the flat fee that they had originally paid me when I billed. And so I was kind of noticed for the hearing in case you needed to hear about that. But
Oh, it isn't yet. Okay, because I was like, hold on a second. Are they just trying to get JAC for the buddies? Like, I couldn't hear who was talking. I couldn't hear who they were addressing. Okay. I'm so sorry. Thank you. I'm like so confused.
just from the perspective of, I'm no longer on the conflict list. I don't take conflict cases anymore. But I guess wanted to make this point in case Your Honor ever has a chance to talk for the billing committee or the appropriations committee for funding for these attorneys that do conflict work. That is one of the most absurd things that I have ever seen in the JAC budgeting.
I'm sorry. I just want to listen to this because I'm a little bit nosy.
I have said many times in these hearings that $75 an hour is absolutely.
And I'm not even
ludicrous.
talking about the amount that they get paid, but it just seems odd to me that if a case is null pros and then it is refiled, it's essentially a different case, especially when another attorney is assigned to it. Like the $5,000 that they paid me should not be taken from another attorney that now has to start the case all over again based upon the state's decision. That's just, and I understand that the JAC's hands are tied because of how they're funded, but it just, when I got that notice and saw that argument, I had never seen that before. And so I just was like, what in the world?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. Next up is 2020 CF 2603, State of Florida versus Sarah Boone. Mr.
I know. I felt bad for the other attorney who's like, you know what? Like, I billed for 20 grand. They're only willing to pay me 11. I don't have any fight in me anymore. Okay. Whatever. Pay me the 11, JAC. Let's just move on. I felt so bad for that guy. It sounded like he was utterly defeated.
Lake, you're here on behalf of JAC.
I am, Your Honor.
All right, and Ms. Cashman, you're here on, as one of the attorneys on the case.
I am, Your Honor. I'm assuming that, like the last attorney, I will be permitted to stay seated because of the microphone issue. Thank you.
Although I do recognize, you're probably like me, it's hard to argue while you're seated.
It's a very unnatural feel.
Who else is here on Ms. Boone's case?
Frank Bankowitz on behalf of Mr. Boone, Judge. I believe
Hi, Frank. That's Frank Bankowitz there. Okay, so I think a lot of crap they listen to me because they are boosting up the audio, or something's going on with this audio here. Usually the audio I got to boost it on my own, but everything's really loud here. So I recommend if it's too loud for you guys, let me know and I'll try to turn it down as I go.
I said in my notes here, attorney number 7, but I think I was actually attorney number 6 on the case. I've had the case the longest of the 3 of us that are appearing before the court now.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Hobson, you were court appointed to Ms. Boone at some point during her saga as well?
Yes, Your Honor. After Mr. Bankowitz withdrew, I was appointed.
All right. So we have all 3 of your bills, and I know JAC had indicated they had no objection to Ms. Cashman's bill, but I did not get a similar statement with regard to Mr. Bankowitz or Mr. Hobson, so I thought I needed to have a hearing with all 3 of you present. I am. Mr. Lake?
I was just saying, there is an objection here because essentially what we're at this point is this is compensation in excess of the flat fee because there's 3 attorneys involved. So there's no line item objections per se because these are all flat fee bills, but we're basically objecting on the basis that the total compensation here is going to exceed the flat fee to some extent.
Right. And I will tell you that I am very familiar with Ms. Boone's case because she has gone through many, many attorneys.
I wonder if she was going to say, because I watch the news. We talk about it in the break room. I was kidding.
And has, according to Judge Kranick's order, sabotaged those relationships. And accordingly, attorneys needed to withdraw and new attorneys were appointed. And I do recognize that a lot of work was done for Ms. Boone. So we will start with Mr. Bankowitz, then move to Mr. Hobson, and then to Ms. Cashman.
Thank you, Your Honor. Basically, I had the case for a little over a year. I had 175 hours in the case,
They should all get hazard pay.
including actual 45 hours at the jail with the defendant. When I received the case, I got a box of
Discovery.
crazy information, I'll put it that way. And it was an entire file box, and it took weeks to go through it, categorize it, and kind of figure out what was going on in the case at that point in time. She originally had a privately retained attorney, and I basically received his case and his file because all of the other court-appointed attorneys before me, I believe, had waived any attorney's fees, and because they did basically nothing on the case. The 3 of us did a lot of work in the case. As I said, I put in 175 hours, and even at the $75 an hour compensation, we're looking at $14,000. Spent a lot of time with Ms. Boone and a lot of time on the case. So I'm requesting a flat fee in this case.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hobson.
Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, everyone. Your Honor, I got the case from Mr. Bankowitz, and I got the same information. The information Mr. Bankowitz just recited that he had and reviewed, and in addition, of course, his information on top of all of that. I spent some time with the defendant at the jail. I spent a tremendous amount of time with the investigator reviewing the case, talking about discovery, experts, and so forth. I spent a tremendous amount of time with a proposed expert, Dr. Linda DeRay. That it turns out the defendant didn't like her. I thought she'd be great. We talked for dozens of hours.
I wonder if I wonder if Sarah didn't like her because maybe Dr. Linda was like, Sarah, I'm going to just be straight with you, Sarah. I don't know if you qualify for battered spouse. I just don't know. And Sarah's like, you know what? I don't want you. I don't want to deal with you.
almost daily, extensive periods of time, coming up with theory of defense or theories of defense. Um, at the in fact, you combine the information from the expert defense attorney that was privately involved and took the case to the right up to the edge for trial, and then had to back out. So I had that information, those boxes or box of information Mr. Bankowitz talked about. I had those. I had to go through those. I gave all that material to Ms. Cashman plus my information on top of that. Spent a lot of time interviewing people about how they'd respond if they were jurors. So I was looking at the case from all angles. I had the case from, I believe, September 23 until May 24. I would say conservatively, any lawyer that had this case can tell you easily they spend at least an hour to 2 hours on this case every single day. Given the information coming in from Ms. Boone, the matter she wanted dealt with, her theory on the law versus our theory on it was a constant battle going back and forth.
Wait, what did he say? So I'm trying to listen to what he's saying right now. In my opinion, you can always find someone to say what you want them to say as long as they're getting paid. Not everyone will do it, but some will. Yep, we've definitely watched some trials where I'm like, how the hell did you come up with this opinion? I know a lot of people had issues with some of Amber Heard's experts. There was an expert that was it Letitia Stauch's case? And what was another expert where I was just like, man, this just sounds like bullshit. It just sounds like bullshit to me. The boxer brief, the first lawyer privately retained. Yes, Padilla was privately retained. Padilla done for. This is for JC paying out the court-appointed attorneys. So we have Bankowitz, Mr. Hobson, and Patricia Cashman. There is a fourth attorney, but I don't think they did any work on this case, so I don't think they're seeking any fees. Trooper Paul. Listen, I think Trooper Paul was just very unqualified for what he was testifying about. Or he has a hard time conveying information. I don't know. I felt like when Trooper Paul went up there, I was like, okay, this is the guy here. The crash reconstruction is blah, blah, blah. He's going to explain to us how it happened. There's going to be diagrams. We're going to see like with Alex Murdoch's case, right? What was his name again? Oh, how could I forget his name? What a good expert he was. He was such a good expert when he went up there and described how the shots could have happened with Paul, with Maggie, and then there was like diagrams, there was like angles, there was measurements, there was positions. Man, they did such a good job with that. And then I was expecting that level expertise for the Karen Reed case. I'm like, okay, they must got something on Karen Reed. Let's go. And then when Trooper Paul went up there and testified, I was just like, what the fuck was that? That was not very convincing. Not very convincing at all. We all remember Dr. Spiegel. I'd be willing to bet these public defenders need a form to support a support group after this. I mean, it's kind of like right now, right? They're talking about, hey, we all know about Sarah Boone, okay? We all know about Sarah Boone. Even the judge was like, hey, I know a lot about Sarah Boone. Yes, Sarah Boone, yes, according to Judge Kranick, she sabotaged these relationships with these attorneys that wrote the money. So I kind of feel like this is kind of like their mini support group right now. Hi, good morning, Oahu. How are you doing today? How's it going? Hello? No, I would never do the law school. Nope.
This case every single day. Given the information coming in from Ms. Boone, the matter she wanted dealt with, her theory on the law versus our theory on it was a constant battle.
Okay. So he said that Sarah Boone had her theory, and then they were battling with the theory that the defense came up with, and I guess the theory just didn't match up, and Sarah Boone didn't like what the defense, the attorneys, the experts were coming up with, and so there's a constant battle, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Going back and forth, you had to deal with the gaslighting.
Gaslighting?
And I told Judge Kranick at the time that I withdrew that it just was too much. This case required at least 2 lawyers. I told that to Judge Kranick, plus possibly an assistant. I see now the case has 3 lawyers.
Yeah. So he's saying that like this case is too much. You need to have 2 attorneys on this. Sarah Boone currently has how many attorneys? She currently has 3 attorneys and 2 assistants that are helping her out with this case because it's a lot. And especially since, you know, the deadline was coming up within less than a month, but still a lot. Especially if you have other things on your plate, as these attorneys probably had other cases, other clients that they had to work with. Yes, Kenny Kinsey. Thank you. Yes, how could I forget his name? Oh my God, Kenny Kinsey, such a good expert.
2 lawyers. I told that to Judge Craney, plus possibly an assistant. I see now the case has 3 lawyers, plus experts that we work at getting, plus investigators. So everything they're doing now, we attempted to do. We made every effort to do all those things. Ms. Boone now has custody of files belonging to myself, Ms. Cashman, and Mr. Bankowitz. We did just put in a tremendous amount of work. It taxed every fiber in your body and the bodies of the assistants or any person that worked with you on this matter. And I think flat fee for each of the attorney would be exceedingly reasonable, Judge. And I heard the judge comments regarding $75 an hour. I won't even speak to that. It would be totally redundant given the expert knowledge of all the attorneys and Your Honor involved in this case and any other case we come to the court on regarding fees. But this was a extremely difficult case, Judge. Most of the difficulty revolved around just handling the defendant and coordinating the defendant. Thoughts on how things should go with what our experts were telling us and our investigators were telling us. So I believe the flat fee for each attorney would be anything less than a flat fee would be totally confiscatory, Judge. Thank you so much.
So he was very taxing. It was very taxing for every fiber of his body. Tremendous amount of work. Extremely difficult case. The most difficult thing was handling the defendant. He mentioned about being gaslit. Gaslit, is that how you say it if you do it in past tense? It was hard to coordinate. Let's see, something about coordinating with the defendant and her thoughts, I guess, on how things would go, what the experts and the investigators were telling us. I don't, the last part I wasn't really understanding what he was saying. But yeah, it was probably very hard for all these attorneys to deal with Sarah Boone, especially since she didn't like what they were, how they were doing things. Whew. How is she elected with 2 lawyers if second pro bono new one in the case? So one attorney is doing pro bono, and then he got the help of 2 other attorneys. I mean, honestly, I can see why the attorneys are deciding to do the Sarah Boone case because, like I said, I think it's pretty good exposure, especially with, you know, having Court TV, Law and Crime inviting you back on their future shows to have you as a lawyer expert to talk about things, talk about their cases. And so I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. I can see if I was James Owens, I think that'll be really good exposure, you know, because now he could be like, hey, they need me and they want my opinion on something. They at least know who I am and they can, you know, come at me and, or they can come hit me up and, you know, I can talk on their panel. So I think, you know, to deal with Sarah Boone for what, like 2 months? And then for, if there is going to be an appeal, you know, have someone else, have an appellate attorney work with that. But I think for James Owens, yeah, it could be worth it.
Thank you. Ms. Cashman.
Your Honor, I'm asking for the $15,000 flat fee, and I'm also asking to be reimbursed for the $1,800 that I paid to an expert, and JAC has a copy of my check front and back on this case. One of the issues that always has to be addressed when there are multiple attorneys, and I was the 8th attorney and the 4th private court-appointed attorney, is making a case that is old by purposes, for reasons of being on the docket for a long time, a priority, and putting aside other work. One of the unusual things about Ms. Boone's case was when I did withdraw for ethical reasons, the court found that she had forfeited her right to an attorney. She is charged by information with second-degree murder. There was an unusual amount of media attention on this case. The facts are she's accused of putting her boyfriend in a suitcase. He later dies. There is a video of this that went viral. Because the video went viral, because of coverage by Court TV, News Nation, Fox, the local channels, the Sentinel, and websites such as Know Your Lawyer, Legal Bites, and Bruce Rivers, you had to review not just the
Oh, yeah, that's right. She's the one who put know your lawyers. It's not. It's lawyer, you know, right? Know your lawyers.
anchor boxes of discovery and work done by the previous
Peter.
attorneys, but stay up to date with what potential jurors were viewing if they were watching it on the internet. There was a lot of correspondence between the defendant and the court. Obviously, I had to review all that. The most recent piece of correspondence when I was Ms. Boone's counsel was the
Know your lawyers, lawyer you know's alter ego. Warrior ego?
58-page letter
Good Mara
that
reference?
she wrote. And again, all these letters are published, they're analyzed. I, like previous counsel, spent an inordinate amount of time with Ms. Boone. I spent over 20 hours during my period of time that I was representing her. I believe that for multiple reasons, the court can find that this case was extraordinary and unusual, and that it would be confiscatory to not pay me the flat fee. And having provided the
Wait, what? I never knew that. Wario's the alter ego of Mario? I had no idea. I actually never thought of it like that. Like, I'm very familiar with Mario Party and all that stuff, but I never knew that was the lore, that Wario was the... Okay, I'm just gonna shut up. I didn't know that.
to not pay me the flat fee, and having provided the requested proof based on the procedure for reimbursable costs, it's my understanding that Mr. Lake is not objecting to me being reimbursed for the $1,800 that I spent to retain an expert who did not have a contract with JAC.
Thank you, Mr. Lake.
Okay, so there are new motions that has been just recently posted on the website. So we'll definitely we will cover it after this hearing.
Yes, Your Honor, just briefly. But as far as the issue of the $1,800, JAC has no objection to that reimbursement. That's more of a technicality. The court did approve the expert. This is just the attorney getting reimbursed for expense that we have no objection to. So that's a non-issue. We just need that in the order. As far as the fees are concerned, the issue here is that other than Ms. Cashman, who submitted an hourly statement of 118 hours, none of the other attorneys actually submitted hourly statements, so we are kind of constrained by the statute. The problem is the statute only allows up to 200% of the flat fee in the absence of hourly statements. In other words, the way that the statute is worded very unusually, but essentially what it says is the court can award up to 200% of the flat fee without, and then it can only go above that if it finds that the case is confiscatory, and then can compensate the attorneys at a rate of $75 an hour. So that's where we get into a little bit of a difficulty here, because double the flat fee here would be $30,000, which is less than each of the attorneys is requesting $15,000 each, would be $45,000. As far as, and at that point, looking at the statute, what we have is, for Ms. Cashman, she got 118 hours in. That would represent at a rate of $75 an hour, $8,850. Based on Mr. Bankowitz's statement, he has 175 hours in, which would be $13,125 at that rate. And Mr. Hobson, he just basically said about 200 hours, which would be $15,000. That's the issue, Your Honor, is that, technically compensation has to be at a rate of $75 an hour for it to go above $30,000. And so beyond that, ultimately, but you leave it to court discretion to determine reasonable fees for each attorney, and we acknowledge that this, I don't think we can even begin to dispute that this is not an extraordinary unusual case. It's just that what the statute says is how the compensation structure is set up, and we have to argue that the court needs to follow that structure.
Mr. Lake, if if one bills hourly, can the others be flat fee under your interpretation of the statute?
That, until you get to double the flat fee, yes, that works. But once you go above double the flat fee, then at that point, it really should be a compensation. It should be 75 an hour. However, we will also acknowledge that we have had other cases like this where the court has awarded the full flat fee to each attorney, and we've never taken it up. So I mean, it's essentially we have to argue that you can only go to 200% of the flat fee, and at that point, it has to go hourly. But we also acknowledge that realistically, there is no attorney on the other than somebody who might take the case pro bono for other reasons. There's no attorney on the surface of this planet that would take this case for $15,000.
Your Honor, if I may address.
I don't
The
need
court.
I don't need to do that, Mr. Hobson. Thank you.
Yes.
I am going to award the $15,000 flat fee to Mr. Bankwitz and Ms. Cashman and a $15,000 hourly fee to Mr. Hobson. Ms. Cashman will be reimbursed her $1,800 in costs. I will issue an order to that if on each of these cases. You've sent me orders electronically, and I will e-sign them. I've got it here. And e-file them in just a moment.
It's like, Mr. Hobson, don't worry. You don't need to talk anymore. I got you.
Mr. Lake, do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right, anything further with regard to this matter?
No, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I would just state that I'm not asking for this cost, but I paid over $400 in photocopy fees costs for material that I sent to Ms. Boone along the way. But I'm not asking for that.
No, ask for it. Please, guys, please get paid what you are owed. Please.
To be refunded to me.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hobson.
Mr. Hobson, just ask for it. Because if you say you're not asking for the judge, I'm like, okay, fine, you're not asking for it.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Your Honor.
thank you, and we have one last hearing. Let me just enter these orders real quick.
Oh my God, dude, I was so worried. I was like, oh my gosh, what if they had to take the $15,000 and then split it 3 ways? Oh my gosh, what if they had to do that? Oh, I'm so glad they're getting paid the $15,000. It just sucks when you're dealing with, I don't know, like they have to deal with JAC, and the JAC has like bureaucratic shit, and then sometimes, you know, you get screwed over, and then you gotta fight for it, sometimes you don't win at the end, but I'm so glad they were able to get their flat fee. And then Hobson got his $15,000 hourly. The way that was phrased was kind of funny. In terms of how long the trial is going to be, they said it was going to be 2 weeks. When Sarah Boone went pro se, judge says 3 weeks. And then at the last hearing, I believe the judge thinks
All
it's going
right,
to be
the
back
last
to 2
case on
weeks
the docket.
because now Sarah Boone has an attorney representing her. But I think the James Owens, who's representing her, was like, oh, you know, I thought maybe 3 weeks. And then so they're like, oh, I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it seems like the judge thought it was going to be 2 weeks.
It is.
Okay, I think that's it because that's for someone else's case. All right, cool. Well, I'm so happy for the attorneys. It seems like they all got their $15,000 that they've requested. And, you know, I feel like Mr. Hobson needs to get reimbursed for that $400. Okay, don't take it out of your paycheck for Sarah Boone. No, have them pay you. If someone owes you money, have them pay you. Okay, so Sarah Boone, new stuff that's popping in. We have, let's refresh. So we have, let's see, granted, attorney seeking fees, granted, notice of supplemental discovery, amended notice of taking deposition, motion to suppress, and an order denying. Okay, I think, are these the ones that just popped up? Let's take a look at it. I got to transition to my glasses. How is everyone doing today? Feel free, if you guys want to, feel free to join the Discord. If you guys want to post anything about this case, you can post in our Discord. We have a true crime section. And like the stream if you're enjoying it. Let me adjust my butt real quick and drink some water. I just don't have confidence that they're going to be able to get a jury in 1 day. 1 day? 1 day? I don't know. I don't know about that. I think Judge Kranick thought it was going to take about maybe 3 days. Based in, TwitchCon. Yeah, no, I didn't go to TwitchCon. I hope you guys had fun at TwitchCon, though. Honestly, for TwitchCon, my favorite thing is just do Artist Alley, and then that's about it. Last year when I went to TwitchCon, I did Artist Alley, and then I went to Bose's True Crime show on a Sunday, and that's it. It was perfect. And I was like, okay, that's all I need. Goodbye. Let's get out of here. 3 days. That's what I was thinking too. I was like, 3 days seems realistic to me. 1 day, given how big this case is, been ongoing in the news for about, I don't know, maybe 4.5 years, but heavily more prominent in the news, maybe in the past, 2 to 3 years. Ay, 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 ay. All right, y'all. So we just finished with the hearing. In the beginning of the stream, I covered the state's response to Sarah Boone saying that, like, oh, you know, battered spouse defense. But state is like, no, you said it was an accident. As a matter of fact, we have a new witness that said that you said it was an accident before law enforcement even got there. Now we have some other things that have been filed, I think, by Sarah Boone's defense and maybe the state as well. All right, what do we got here? Notice of supplemental discovery comes now to the state of Florida by and through the assigned assistant state attorney hereby makes the following information available to the defense and states as follow. BWC videos, body worn camera, I think, videos from Orange County case, state of Florida versus Sarah Boone. Copies of evidence listed available for copy upon a request with a blank disc by Mr. Cacciatore. So Mr. Owens got the body worn camera videos. Amended notice of taking depositions, change of location. Whose deposition are they taking? Who wrote this? July F. Harper. Julie, is that you? Julie, are you July F. Harper now? Julie Harper is the forensic psychologist who says Sarah Boone qualifies for battered spouse defense. Also met with Sarah Boone about 6 times, like 4 or 5 years ago. Okay. July Harper. Motion to suppress, defendant statement at Orange County Sheriff's Office. Now, this is, I'm hoping to hear this argument. I don't think they're going to talk about this in this week's hearing. I think they might have a separate pretrial. It seems like that's what they discussed with the judge, but who knows? Maybe they'll just stick it all in one day. We'll see. Comes now the defendant by and through the undersigned attorney pursuant to Florida Rules of Criminal Procedure, the 5th and 6th Amendment of the United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 9 of the Florida Constitution, and respectfully moves the court to suppress all statements. Yeah, if they can get all these statements suppressed during the interrogation, that could really help her out with her saying that, you know, it could help with the whole accident thing when she was talking about interrogation. But, I mean, it was still mentioned in the body cam and then a 911 call, so... All right, number 1, defendant Sarah Boone is charged by, second-degree murder. Number 2, on or about February 24th, 2020, defendant called 911 in response to finding her boyfriend, George Torres, deceased. Number 3, Deputy Kayla Rodriguez of the Orange County Sheriff's Office arrived on the scene with her body cam activated. Deputy Rodriguez spoke to the defendant and realized a death had occurred. Deputy Rodriguez advised her superiors and secured the scene. Number 4, sometimes later, homicide investigator Chelsea Connolly, a.k.a. Chelsea Copsol, and Scott Lowen arrived. These 2 investigators would ultimately be responsible for this homicide investigation and were involved in the interrogation of the defendant at the Orange County Sheriff's Office the next day. Number 5, the defendant was ordered to remain on the scene while Orange County Sheriff's Office conducted their investigation. The defendant stayed outside of her apartment for approximately 14 hours during this time. She was out there for 14 hours? Or did they mean that she couldn't go back to the apartment for 14 hours? Number 6, at some point, the defendant was asked to get into a vehicle with Detective Copsol? How do you pronounce that, guys? And Detective Lowen. Once inside, Detective K recorded interrogation with the defendant after partially reading her Miranda rights, omitting the final question. I think the final question was, do you understand what I'm saying and do you want to proceed or something like that? The defendant was advised of this recorded interrogation was routine protocol, the official procedure for any death investigation. Number 7, during the investigation, Detective K asked to see the defendant's phone. The defendant complied and gave her phone to the detective. The defendant was asked to unlock her phone and she complied with the demands of the lead detective. Number 8, after Detective K had the defendant's phone for a period of time, she came back and told the defendant that she was taking the phone. Detective K asked the defendant to sign a form releasing it to the Orange County Sheriff's Office for further investigation. The defendant acquiesced to the authority and signed the form. Okay, so she signed the form. All right. Number 9, the defendant was told that one of the detectives would return her phone to the defendant at her apartment in Winter Park the following afternoon. Number 10, later that evening, the defendant moved to her ex-husband's home. Oh, Brian Boone, for the night. Poor Brian. Using her ex-husband's phone, the defendant called lead detective Chelsea K to express her concern that Detective K was not being truthful about law enforcement motives as it relates to the defendant. The defendant told the detectives she believed they were trying to trick her. 11. The detective assured the defendant that they were not trying to trick or implicate her, but that the following day the defendant needed to drive to Orange County Sheriff's Office to retrieve her phone. The detective explained that the reason for the change in plans was because she was pregnant and not feeling well. We did hear a little bit about the summary at last week's hearing. 12. The next day, February 25th, 2020, the defendant arrived at Orange County Sheriff's Office to retrieve her phone and had questions about this tragic event. So she showed up, had maybe like a list of things that she wanted to discuss with the detectives. 13, while still under the impression that she was retrieving her phone, Detective Lowen led the defendant upstairs into an interrogation room. A custodial interrogation ensued. Immediately after the interrogation, the defendant was arrested and charged with the offense above. 14, this approximate 2-hour interrogation was recorded. 15, the initial dialogue between Detective K and the defendant Sarah Boone. Detective, I'm going to have to sit you in the green chair. Detective, appreciate you coming in. Sarah Boone, yes, ma'am. I wanted to ask about these whenever you have a moment, referring to her written notes with questions. Detective, sure. Detective, so obviously he received his autopsy. So I'm going to have to read you your rights again because we have to talk about that. Bold, underline. Detective, and we're not done talking about the incident. Detective, we just have to do it. Bold, underline. Sarah Boone, just like what we did yesterday. Sarah Boone, normal protocol. Detective, just like what we did yesterday. Detective, remember, I read you the rights. Detective, yeah, it's the same thing, but since I'm asking you a follow-up question, I need to read them to you, okay? Detective, in bold, italic. So you have to the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer before and during the questioning without charge. If you cannot afford a lawyer and want one can be provided for you before questioning without charge. Has anyone threatened you or promised you anything to get you to talk to me? Sarah Boone, no. Detective, and do you understand what I just read to you? Bold, italic. Sarah Boone, yes. Detective, perfect, okay. Detective, so this morning we went to his autopsy and we were informed of his injuries he had by the doctor. Defendant, where? Detective, so he's got scratch marks to his back. 16. The interrogation continued for approximately 2 hours. At the end, while still in the interrogation room, the defendant was placed in handcuffs and was arrested. 17. The detective read to the defendant her Miranda rights directly from the printed card of Orange County Sheriff's Office. The detective omitted the final question printed on the standardized Miranda card of the Orange County Sheriff's Office. 18. Detective omitted the same Miranda rights question that she omitted the day before. Number 19. The omitted final Miranda rights question is, bold, italic. Having these rights in mind, do you wish to talk to us now? Question mark. 20. The defense has yet to receive a true and accurate copy of the Miranda rights card from the Orange County Sheriff's Office. 21. Upon information belief, it would look something like this. 1, you have a right to remain silent. 2, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. 3, you have a right to talk to a lawyer and have him present with you while you're being questioned. 4, if you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed to you to represent you before any questioning if you wish. 5, you can decide any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. Waiver. Do you understand each of these questions? Do you understand each of these rights I have explained to you? Question mark. Having these rights in mind, do you wish to talk to us now? Question mark. So he's saying that was omitted. Number 22. The interrogation videos you've seen of Sarah Boone aren't the complete interrogation that was playing the details into trial, so we don't know how long each video really is, or if there's only 2. Yeah, because there's one that they mentioned about her being in the back of the car, and I don't remember seeing body cam footages of Sarah Boone being in the car. I don't remember that. 22. Based on the circumstances surrounding the interrogation, the defendant's statement was coerced and not freely and voluntarily given. The defendant did not freely and knowingly waive her rights under Miranda. 23. As such, the entire 23-hour interrogation should be suppressed. I mean, like I said, body cam, 911 call, already looks bad for Sarah Boone. What else is there? order on state's motion for court-appointed experts to produce reports. The motion is denied. Oh, I thought the judge was okay with having the experts give their reports. Let me see what it says. No explanation, just denied. That's it. Huh. I don't know. I thought the judge was fine with them producing reports. I could have sworn they addressed this last week in last week's hearing. Okay. Anything else? I think that's about, yeah, that's it. That's the new stuff that's been filed recently. I mean, we knew James Owens, we knew the defense was going to file this because they talked about it in the past 2 hearings. So we knew that there was going to be some issues with, well, I mean, they said body cam footage and they said an interrogation. So I think maybe the body cam, they're like, that one's fine, but interrogation, we're going to try to get that one thrown out. But I don't know if that's going to be a separate pretrial hearing or maybe they'll decide to just address everything in 2 days from now. But I think from what I've heard between Sarah Boone's defense and the judge, I think they said they're going to do a separate pretrial. All right, well, let's see what else they got because trial is going to be happening in less than 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks. How long do you guys think jury selection is going to take? Oh, the car is audio only. I haven't seen that one. If you guys, can you guys link it in the Discord? I don't know the rules, but in my opinion, what the detective said is close enough that they aren't going to win with this. Yeah, it seems like when they initially brought this up with the judge, it didn't seem like the judge was really buying into what the defense was saying. The state seems like they were a little bit confused as well, but yeah, it was a lot of back and forth in last time's hearing. 2.5 days. Yeah, I feel like it's going to be 2 to 3 days. 2 to 3 days. Hi, good guy. How are you doing today? How's it going? Hello, hello. Sarah had to think. They told me I could exercise my rights at any time, so I'm just going to go with the flow and think of everything later. Jury selection 2 days, opening on the 3rd. Owens had no previous case law to back up his motion. I'm trying to remember. Did he not? Oh, was that the one where... Because there was so much back and forth happening in the last time's hearing. Was that the one where the judge was like, what's the case law to back it up? And he's like, I don't have it with me. I don't have it with me right now. I wasn't ready for it or something. And I think that was when I was like, oh, you should always think 2 steps ahead. You should always have it ready, just in case. Was that the one? I took a lot of notes that day. Ready. I'm not ready for that. Let's see. The judge was like, respectfully, where's the case law? Let's see. Better wife. Oh, no. Sorry. I think that's what they were talking about with the battered spouse defense. Oh, that was something else. Okay. I thought that was something else. They're talking about the battered spouse thing. All right, y'all. Well, I mean, that's all we got for today. I think tomorrow I'm going to be streaming again. We'll watch some of the interrogation, the body cam stuff. I'm not too sure yet, and then Thursday I'll see you guys again for the actual hearing. So I will see you guys today, tomorrow, and Friday. All right? Or is it Friday? Thursday. Today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Maybe Friday. We'll see. But thank you so much for hanging out with us today. If you guys just got here, we covered some of the new motions that have been filed. The state saying they have another witness that said before law enforcement got there, Sarah Boone said it was an accident. What happened to George was an accident. That's to address the defense of Sarah Boone saying that, well, my defense is that, I'm a battered spouse and what I did was justified, I guess. And then afterwards, we talked about the hearing. We watched the hearing. The attorneys are getting paid. Judge has granted their motions, and there was more motions that were filed, and we went over it. Again, Sarah Boone's defense, they want to have the interrogation video, the full 2-hour interrogation video thrown out. So I think tomorrow, let's watch the interrogation video. Let's watch some body cam. Let's watch some Brian Boone interrogation stuff. All right? And then, yeah, that's it. I hope you guys have a good one. Take care. Thank you so much for joining us. Forky, Tuco, thank you. Thanks for joining us on Twitch and on YouTube. We dual stream on both. Feel free to join the Discord, like the stream, and that's about it, y'all.